Welcome to video 5, Solving Equations Part 2. In the previous video, you learned how to solve equations using 3 methods: inspection, trial and error, and tile. As we saw in class today, the methods could be rather lengthy, so today I'm going to teach you how to solve equations using a 2-step system. So let's say we want to solve the equation 2x plus 5 equals to 15. Well, essentially what we're looking for is we want to know what the x is here. X is our variable, and the x can only be one number and one number only. Well, how do we go about solving this? So we're first going to begin by making a little table that looks like this, and we write work on one side and check on the other. This is where you're going to show all your work, and this is where you're going to check yourself to make sure that x equals the number that you said it does. So the first step is to write out our equation. So 2x plus 5 equals to 15. Next, we want to isolate this variable over here, and by that I mean we want the x to be alone so we can have x equaling to a number. So if we want to keep our x alone on the left side, we need to start getting rid of some numbers. So this is when we write the next step. 2x plus 5, I want to get rid of the 5, so I'm subtracting 5, equals to 15 minus 5. Now, as you can see, I wrote minus 5 here and minus 5 here, because as we spoke in class today, what we do to one side of the equation, we must do to the other. And then we write our new equation down. So 2x, now plus 5 and minus 5, as you remember from the integers unit, cancel out and it becomes 0. So we're left with 2x equals to 15 minus 5. And now we keep simplifying. 2x equals to 15 minus 5, which is 10. Okay, now we're almost done. Now we need to get rid of this 2 over here. Well, in order to get rid of this 2 over here, the opposite of multiplication, so 2 times x, the opposite of that would be division. So what we would do is do 2x divided by 2 equals to 10 divided by 2. Again, what we do to one side of the equation, we have to do to the other. Now, 2 divided by 2 is 0, so now we are left with our x alone, equals to 10 over 2. And lastly, if we know our division, 10 over 2 equals to 5. Therefore, x equals to 5. So just to review, here we have our equation. So in order to show our work, first we write down our equation. Then we ask ourselves, how can we begin to isolate the variable? In this case, the variable is x. Well, let's start with the 5. In order to get rid of this 5 over here, we are going to subtract 5, and that way it becomes 0. So we subtract 5 from one side, and we have to do it to the other. So 2x plus 5 minus 5 equals to 15 minus 5. And now we simplify. So 2x equals to 15 minus 5. Then we write 2x again, and 15 minus 5 is 10. Now we're left with 2x equals to 10. In order to get rid of this 2 over here, the opposite of multiplication is division. So if we divide 2 by each side, we can isolate our variable x. So 2 divided by 2 is 0, so these two numbers over here cancel each other out, and we're left with x equals to 10 over 2. And we know that 10 divided by 2 is 5, and we have our x over here alone, so x has to be 5. Well, how can we check ourselves to make sure that x equals to 5? So this is the second step in our 2-step equation. So the first thing we had to do was show all of our work, and the second thing we had to do is check ourselves. So what we do now is wherever we see x appear, we must put the number 5 instead, because we said that x equals to 5. So if we rewrite this equation, 2x plus 5 equals to 15. Now I'm going to put the 5 instead of the x. So 2 times 5 plus 5 equals to 15. Now we can solve. 2 times 5 is 10, plus 5 equals to 15. And 10 plus 5 is 15 equals to 15. As we can see, left side equals right side. So when we let x equals 5 and put 5 here instead of the x, our equation 2x plus 5 equals to 15 is correct. Okay, so now we're going to try one more equation. So we have n divided by 2 plus 4 equals to 20. So the first thing we do is we work on the work side and we just write down this equation. So n, or a number, divided by 2 plus 4 equals to 20. Now what we do is we would like to, again, isolate this variable n over here so that it equals to a number, so we know the value for n. Well, just like in the previous example, we're going to begin with this plus 4 over here. So how can we get rid of this plus 4? Well, in order to get rid of this plus 4, we should subtract 4 from both sides. So we write it as n divided by 2 plus 4 minus 4 equals to 20 minus 4. And now we can just solve the second part. So we write it down as n divided by 2 plus 4 and minus 4. Well, again, as you remember from your integers unit, that becomes 0, so we don't worry about writing that down, equals to, what's 20 minus 4? 16. Now, as you can recall from the previous example, the opposite of multiplication was division. So now here, if we want to get rid of this 2, the opposite of division will be multiplication. So what we need to do is we need to multiply 2 by both sides of the equation in order to get rid of this 2 over here and keep n alone. So we're going to rewrite this as 2 times n over 2 equals to 16 times 2. Now, since these 2's will cancel each other out, we're left with n alone. So we can write that as n equals to 16 times 2. And we know that 16 times 2 is 32. So in this case, n has to be 32. Let's go over what we did here. So our question was a number divided by 2 plus 4 gives us 20. Well, we want to know the value of this number. So the first thing we did was we wanted to get rid of this 4. So we copied down the 2 divided by n right here. Now in order to get rid of the 4, we needed to subtract it by 4 because this gives us 0. So what we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So we wrote minus 4 here, that we had to write minus 4 here. And then we were left with n divided by 2. Since the plus 4 and minus 4 gave us 0, we didn't have those anymore. And it equaled to 16. Now, we needed to get rid of this 2 over here because we just wanted n equaling to some sort of number. So a number divided by 2 will give us 16. So the next step to do is think of the opposite of a division, which was multiplication. So if we do 2 times n divided by 2, well, we're canceling each other out here because if we're multiplying n by 2 and we're dividing n by 2, then it becomes nothing, it becomes 0. And then we had to multiply, since we multiplied the left side by 2, we had to multiply the right side by 2. So here we were left with n alone, equaling to 16 times 2. I put the 2 in brackets because I didn't want to put a multiplication sign to confuse you for another variable. And n equal to 32. Now, just like in the previous slide, in order to check ourselves over here, wherever we see n, we just had to put the number 32. So if we write our equation, n divided by 2 plus 4 gives us 20, instead of the n, let's put 32. 32 divided by 2 plus 4 gives us 20. Now, if you recall back to BEDMAS, well, division comes before addition. So we need to do this division part first. So 32 divided by 2, that gives us 16. And now copy the rest down. Now 16 plus 4 gives us 20. And the other side is 20. So as you can see, 20 equals 20. Left side equals right side. So when n is 32, then left side equals right side, and this whole equation equals to 20. So solving equations using this two-step process will require you to take this equation, show me your work, and check your work. Now I'd like you to show me your work step by step as indicated here, and not just jump from one step to the last. And again, with checking your work also, I'd like to see step by step by step, and not jumping from one step to the last. So your ticket in the door for Monday's class is to solve the following equations using the two-step process that we've gone over this video, and you just have 2 questions to do.